Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Arnie for Mr. Short Sale. Today I got an amazing guest, James Copeland. So James was actually one of my sellers for one of my Subto deals over here in Cabot, and I think we purchased a property a little over 2 years ago, and we still own it. And so basically today I just want to just kind of talk to James. We had an initial conversation or interview, should I say, maybe a year and a half ago. But now we're just doing it 2 years later, and I kind of want to get your experience, James, on us, still holding the property, making the payments, and all that.
Right.
So again, thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Um,
Welcome.
Especially on a Sunday. There's a lot of other things you can do on a Sunday morning, but
Yes, sir. It's all
it
good.
really helps, my company out, but also it's going to help out future, sellers, maybe
Right.
in a similar situation. So let's, without going through every single detail, if you don't mind, maybe let's talk about the situation. When I first made contact with you,
Right.
and I think that was back in, man, let's see, I think it was like actually like May or June, wasn't it,
Yeah, it was like
James,
sometime in
of
May.
2020?
Yeah, end of May into June. Uh,
Okay.
Contact me through Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
And,
I remember that,
yeah.
and because it was a lengthy text, if I remember right,
Right.
and your response was, at the time was like was kind of funny, you know. Um, I don't think you trusted me at first, right?
No, I sure didn't. I thought you was a scammer. I thought you was
And
ruin
now
my.
here's the thing: there are scammers out there, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's a lot of scammers out there. So I totally get it, right?
Yes, sir.
So it took me, 2, 3 messages, I think, to
It did.
finally for you to, at least have a conversation over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for other investors like myself, and we kind of talk about this, James, is the follow-ups is key,
Right.
right? For us. So a lot of the times, the first couple, texts or phone calls, they won't answer.
Right.
um but you have to follow up in our business, right?
Right.
And that's exactly what happened, right? So
Right.
let's go from there. So after that first text, you weren't really kind of worried about, me, I guess.
Right.
So tell me, like, what changed?
So, well, like I said, I pushed you off to the side for a little while, and then you messaged me again when I was at work, and I had this. I went, man, this guy, he's back again. Won't know about the house ordeal. Well, all I can do is go for a leap of faith and hope for the best, And because at that time I was in a pretty bad situation. I was behind on payments like a whole year, I think, and so
Well, I think what happened was, it wasn't really your fault,
right,
right?
right,
Because so if I remember right, you had a tenant in there,
right.
right? A family, and
Yeah,
they're actually a really nice family.
they were.
But they stopped making payments,
Yeah, they just like disappeared. Uh,
right? And I think for over a year they
mm,
didn't make a payment to you,
right, right,
right? And
right,
here's the thing, and this is what, I tell a lot of, homeowners, that are maybe out of state or just landlords.
mm-hmm,
Um, it's all fun and games when they're making when the tenant pays on time,
right.
right?
That's right,
When they stop making payments, that's the scary part, right?
right,
Because you either, you have to kick them out, right?
right.
Or you go to foreclosure because, the bank still needs the payment,
That's right. That's right.
right? So, and so I understand, I mean, this is my full-time business, and, we evict tenants all the time,
You're right.
but for, somebody like yourself, and you're a really, really awesome person, you're very, very, religious, good person,
Yeah,
and so you're always looking for the best in somebody, right?
yeah,
Hoping that they would, change,
that's right.
but these tenants took advantage of you,
Right,
right?
right,
And so, but yeah, long story short, they didn't make a payment in over a year.
right,
So yeah, so let's continue with that. I just want to make sure people understand that situation. It's not all your fault.
right, right. So, so, like we said, I had people live in the house, and they like just stopped making payments. And I went to the house a couple times, no answer.
Oh,
Talked
I
to
didn't know that, James. I didn't know you went to the house.
Yeah, I went to the house a couple
Wow.
times. There was no answer. I only got talked to a lady that lived there once, and she told me that she was gonna have the guy call me, and which he never did. And so I kind of that was the last time I went to the house, and then after that it was then you started messaging me about the house, and then that third go around of you messaging me, I just have make a leap of faith and hope for the best, and because I was fixing to go file bankruptcy or something on this house and mess up my whole credit
Mhm.
career or however that works, you know. And
I mean, were you getting calls like at your work?
I
I
was
mean, how
getting
many how many phone calls from the mortgage company and all that,
I was getting
like,
at least
daily?
10 a day,
Jesus.
10 each day. It was at work, on my cell phone, at home. I mean,
Holy
they
crap.
was wherever I was at, they was hold of my getting a hold of me, and they was emailing me, and they was on me. I mean,
And you were doing a full I mean, you were working full time, and
yes,
you're working, at a high school, right? A great
yes,
job
sir,
at the high school over there,
yes,
you
sir,
know, and I cannot imagine, you're getting these phone calls, your supervisor is getting these phone calls, I'm assuming,
right,
right? Looking for you,
that's right.
so you're trying to do your work and then you're getting these calls,
Calls,
constantly,
you're
you
right,
know, and
and
they're like wolves, right? They're
right,
gonna keep attacking you,
that's right,
so
that's right,
um so I think that was another big reason, right? And let's be honest, right? I think that's
right,
another big reason why you probably called me
yeah,
is all that stress
that
and you really
stress,
had no other option, right? Because
right,
so number one, it's not like you could just up and sell the house, right?
right,
Because I mean, I would say just sell the house, but because tenants in there, you're gonna have to show the house,
right,
right? And I don't think you knew this, but maybe I told you, but there was a lot of damage in that house.
yeah. I remember you.
The carpet, would need to be replaced.
Yeah,
There was holes all over the garage.
dang,
I don't know how that happened. It looks like a car ran into the wall or something in there.
wow,
You
dang,
know, um, just overall just dirty.
right,
They really didn't keep the house in great shape. Now it's an amazing house,
yes,
right?
sir. It's a great
Um,
house.
but when you took it over, when you bought it, you know, um, but anyways, yeah. So that was kind of the situation there. They kept calling you up,
Yes, sir.
and then is that when you kind of decided like let's give him a chance?
Well, they accident called the principal at the high school, and
Oh my gosh.
that was when I had to take the chance of
Oh
getting
no.
you,
So
because
they called the principal.
yeah, at the high school,
Oh Lord.
and that was embarrassing.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh.
that's why I had to go for the leap of
The
faith,
Hail Mary.
yes,
In
yes,
football terms, right? You're a football guy. It's
right,
the old Hail Mary, right?
yes,
And I
sir,
am just, we could just laugh about it now, right? That's the good thing. It's
right,
I know it's very painful, and I appreciate you, going back to that.
yes, sir,
But at the end of the day, you did did, and I'm really glad that you trusted me,
Yes, sir.
because so what happened was, guys, so you know, after he made after we made that contact finally, over the phone, we were able to connect with the bank, and we found that you're behind about $15,000, right, in payments, and
Right,
that didn't include attorney fees and late fees and all that. Well, late fees, but other fees associated with that as well, right?
right,
But the big one's attorney fees.
right,
So, what we did, and this is what I pitched to James, was the only really way to do that, to fix it. It was number one, to reinstate the loan, right?
that's right,
So what we told you is we were going to take over the mortgage subject to, or take over the house subject to the existing mortgage, right? So
right,
in our industry, it's called subject to, right? And
right.
you've never heard of that before,
No, never.
right?
Right,
So again, you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? You know,
right,
crazy process. It's got to be illegal, right?
right.
And then I told you, obviously we're going to close with a title company over
Mm-hmm.
here, right?
That's
And
right.
that probably, I don't know for you, but I'm sure it kind of like eased that stress. Like, okay, it's done at a title company, um, so it has to be legit, right?
That's right.
And really, that's all we did, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we took over the mortgage subject to, we took over the payments. Now, here's the thing, right? Um, we took over the payments, but the note and mortgage still stays in James's name,
That's right.
right? We disclosed that on the front end, right?
That's
So
right.
if we don't make a payment, right, it could potentially hurt your credit,
That's right.
right? So, um, and so I guess my question to you is why would somebody do that? Why would a seller? This is good for other sellers in the future, James. Is
Okay.
why would somebody even want to do that? Why would you want to keep the note and mortgage in your name when the deed gets transferred over to me?
I mean, well, it it's
I mean, is it the that you feel, was it the pressure, or did you feel like our company was um going to make the payments on time,
I
right?
like it was I could trust y'all and y'all was gonna make the payments and y'all really have did have done good and then when you couldn't make the payments you automatically contacted me and we got all situated and got the payments made and stuff and it's been yeah, I mean there was a really a good trust in y'all's company. I mean it's been really good.
Man, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Yeah, I remember that now. That one hiccup with when they change over servicing companies. So you got to
Yeah,
be careful with that, right? But
right,
we caught it before, the 30-day mark.
right.
So you just got to make sure. That's why we always make payments on the first,
That's
right?
right. That's
So
right.
if we notice that then there's no payment, we're like, what's going on here, right? And we found
Right.
out it was a servicing company change,
Right.
right? So, but man, awesome, awesome, awesome. But yeah, so that's really the big thing is, number one, being able to trust us,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Being making payments on time every month, right?
Yes, sir.
And how's your credit now
It
from when
is.
we started?
Well, when we started, it was like down in the low 600s. It was like 620, and now it's up there to 699 now.
Wow, that
Yeah,
is awesome.
yeah, but it has jumped up a lot.
Wow, I did not realize it goes up that high, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wow, that's really cool. So you were at 620.
Yeah, when we first started this whole program, and now after 2 years, it has jumped up to 696. I think it has jumped
Wow,
a lot.
man, that's really cool, man. I mean, oh my gosh, I did not know that. That's really cool. I thought it was gonna slowly go up over
That's what I
time.
do. Yeah.
And I didn't think it was gonna go up that high, that
Uh.
fast.
Right.
That's very cool, man. Congratulations on that. See,
Yes.
so that's a big thing for for sellers,
Yes.
right? So
That's.
taking subject to is a very beneficial for you. Number one, we can reinstate the loan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're building your credit back up,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So I mean, you can actually get a house right now.
Yeah. I sure.
You'll qualify for a FHA.
I
You
sure do.
know, if you're a VA, you qualify for any loan right now.
That's right.
I'm so happy for you, James.
Thank you.
I did not know that. That's really good. That's really good to hear.
Yes, sir.
Um, and obviously we're not making any more calls to your job, right?
No, there's.
And you're actually getting promoted.
Yes, I'm getting a
You get
promotion.
promotion,
Yes, sir.
right? So, if I had to guess, if you were still getting these calls constantly, do you think you're the owner, or not owner, but like the principal, and the people that your supervisors, do you think they would want to keep you?
Probably not. They probably be looking for a way to fire me and get me out the door.
Yeah, I think so, 'cause especially we're working around kids,
Right.
you don't want they don't want people, being stressed out, and potentially could be hurting,
Right.
a young child,
Right.
right?
That's right.
A young teenager, should I say? They're not child, they're teenagers, but so that's awesome, man. That's really good to hear.
Yes,
Really,
sir.
really good to hear. So, what else? So through this experience, right? What would you say is the part that um was the most confusing part of the deal?
Uh, I would say it was the paperwork. All
Okay.
the paperwork we went through was
Yeah.
most
There was a
confusing.
lot of paperwork, right?
That was. It
There
sure
was a
was.
lot of paperwork because, I'm glad you brought that up. So we bought this property in a land trust, right?
That's right.
So we put the property in a land trust. So that's another set of documents that you're very unfamiliar with, right? So um yeah, in this property, the land trust owns the property. So actually the legal ownership of the property, right? So and we do that for, protection for us, and,
Mm,
and for you too, right?
right.
But another layer of documentation. Obviously the associated documentation, of a subject to, right? And we won't go into it, but there's probably like 10 or 12 different pieces of document. We call it cover your own ass
Right.
documents, right?
Right.
Just basically, some are disclosures that is a subject to, right? So
Right.
you as a seller understands that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So but we did all that through the title company,
That's right.
right? And even though there's a lot of documentation you didn't know about, we were able to, go through each documentation, explain it to you. And then, the title company was there as well to answer any questions you had, right?
It sure was.
It's just a normal transaction. It's just not known with everybody.
Right.
It's a known transaction in our industry,
Right.
but for normal homeowners, they don't understand that. So, um, but yeah, so yeah, 2 years later, we still own the property. We still make the payments on time. Um,
Yes, sir.
but would you suggest this transaction for other sellers or other
Yeah.
homeowners in your situation?
Yes, I provide y'all if y'all have a problem with y'all's house or behind on your house or whatever the deal is, go to Ernie and he will go to his company. They will help y'all out.
And I
They sure
appreciate
will.
that. You know, um, yeah, thank you for that, James.
Yes.
But the cool thing about this transaction is, obviously the business side is, we're the owners, right?
Right.
You don't own the property anymore. You
No.
still own the note mortgage, but not the property. But
Right.
you know, um, but there's a lot of value given to you as well, right?
Right.
We
That's
we
right.
we we uh we stopped a, a bad situation from getting worse with you,
Right.
right? But also we became friends,
Yes.
and I think that was the kind of the coolest thing about it was, the relationships. I mean, we still talk to each other. I mean, I text you once in a while, see how everything's going, right?
Sir, you sure do.
So I like to see that. I mean, I like to see that sellers are doing okay.
Yes, sir.
And for me, I just like to know, you know, there's any issues and um, things that we can do to make a process better, right?
Right. That's right.
So but yeah, so that's the cool thing is just the friendship there.
Yes.
Obviously, we're doing this, because and I think you're going to help out other sellers in the future. Other sellers in the situation. You're going to watch this in the future and maybe make that decision. Say, you know what, James felt comfortable with his company. I didn't realize how much it helped his credit. I didn't realize like those phone calls are going to stop. And maybe I'll give Arnie, or even other investors like myself, they're credible. Maybe I'll give them a chance.
Right.
So I appreciate that. So you're going to help out really a lot of future, sellers.
Sweet. That's awesome to hear.
So, but great. So yeah, I don't want to take more of your time. So let's do this really quick. Let me go ahead and let me share my screen, and I'm going to show them the property real
All right.
quick. Actually, you know what? Let's do this because I don't want to take more of your time. I can do that after. So, so yeah. So thank you very much, James.
Oh, you're welcome.
Um, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, sir. You do the same.
But yeah, we'll talk soon. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you
Uh,
later, brother.
See ya.
Yep. All right. So that was a good conversation. Yeah, that was one of my sellers. That was in pre foreclosure, and we did a subject to deal on it. And let me go ahead and show you the property. Screen. And if you guys have any questions on just the subject to general questions, just put in the chat. But I didn't realize credit went up that high. I'm so happy for him. Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, he went up from 620 to almost basically 700. I mean, that is really, really cool. Let's see. Let me kind of go through these comments. So Charlotte says, follow up, let's go. Yep, definitely a follow up. I'm telling you, it took me 3 or 4 times to finally for him to finally say yes. You know, um, yeah, renters damaged their worst. Oh my gosh, yeah, they just let it go. Um, but yeah, you can see the inside. I don't know if these were the older. Yeah, so this is before. These pictures were before we bought it. The sellers or the buyers that were our tenants. They painted these walls blue and the carpet was like black because of all the dirt on it, and yeah, it was pretty gross. Subject to, hell yeah, subject to. That's a transaction we did on it. He was feeling the relief liability due to trust. Yep. And here, I mean, just be honest here. I mean, there was so much pressure, external pressure on him that he had no other choice. He took a chance, right? But hopefully, he took that chance because the conversations we had. But at the end of the day, he had no other choice. Unfortunately, a lot of sellers in the situation, they have no other choice except going to foreclosure or file bankruptcy. You know, subject to is so much better. um, obviously the bankruptcy because you're reinstating the loan. You know, we're making the payments to him every month. You know, building his credit back up. Built-in free credit repair. Yep, absolutely. Yep. How was the process for the seller? Complicated, easy? Um, well, so I think the toughest part is, you know, every situation is different, right? So for him, you know, he had a tenant in there that wasn't paying. So here's what happened. This is how I found the property. So I was actually I bought a subject to deal around this time, and I was owner financing it out to another buyer. And so I, you know, soliciting this property, we call it wrap, right? I was soliciting this wrap to through Facebook, and the tenant for this property, you know, called me up looking to potentially buy this other property of mine. Um, and and I kind of asked him what the situation was, and he said that he's been getting letters from the bank, from his landlord, you know, saying that the property is going to go into auction or pre foreclosure or whatever. And so he was trying to find a place because, you know, he knew that the time was coming. He knew he had to make any payment in the past year. So he was looking to buy another property from me. So I went direct once he told me that, I was like, oh shoot. So I'm gonna go direct to seller and maybe I can try to buy it myself, you know. So that's what I did, you know. So I made that contact, and I tried to skip trace them, didn't make no luck. Um, the numbers, you got to think the sellers are changing their numbers all the time, right? They're trying to hide from the creditors, right? And these guys, you know, a lot of these, uh, you know, private people that are hired to find these people, they're really good. They got great systems, you know. So eventually they're going to find you, and that's what they did. They found out where he worked, and they called him up at work. But you know, the cell number wasn't correct on the skip tracing service that I had, right? So what I did, I found him on Facebook, you know, texted him. Didn't make He didn't respond to me that first time. It took, like I said, 3 or 4 times later. Um, so I made contact with him, you know, I found out, you know, he didn't make it, you know, the tenant wasn't making any payments. So I had to kick him out. So we just created a letter, after we, well, I think before we bought the property. Yeah, before we bought the property, you know, I basically just created a letter, and I went over to the house and basically almost served him. You know, I told him, I gave him a 30-day notice, like he needs to vacate, or we're gonna, you know, proceed with, you know, eviction. I basically, in the letter I told him, like, we're the new owners, and he needs to be out in 30 days. So luckily he was able to get out, or he actually left. Um, so that was a good win. But the problem was there was a lot of damage in the property. So that's something, you know, so I had to evaluate that before we purchased it, right? You know, so we got to catch up $15,000 in arrears, and then another, you know, $10,000 in repairs. So, but you know, with that total, we call it entry cost. With that total entry cost, um, that was acceptable, right? Because you know we can cash flow on that property and everything. So, but anyways, yeah. Other than that, I mean, it was just the paperwork for him. You know, we did all the hard work. You know, a bunch of, a lot of land trust paperwork, CYA documents. You know, for the, subject to, and some other associated docs. But Very, very simple for him though. The title company is the one that processed it, so, he just had to go there for closing, that's it. We did literally all the work for him. How do you reinstate mortgage without the mortgage holder knowing you're taking over? I mean, I mean, anybody can reinstate a mortgage, the banks don't care, right? They just wanna get their loan reinstated so they don't have to foreclose. So, yeah, anybody can go in there and make a payment on somebody's behalf, you know? What paper do you use prior to making payments of arrears? Prior to making payments in arrears. Well, we got the property, under contract, right? So, after we close, because remember, we're taking the property subject to the existing mortgage, and any underlying liens or anything like that. Okay. So we're taking the property with all these situations. Once we actually get um, the deed, then we make do the reinstatement. And we're not going to reinstate the loan and then do the transaction. So we're gonna process it, get the deed, and then at the same time reinstate the mortgage. And we can have the title company. You can have the title company reinstate it for you. But other than that, that's basically it. Yeah, this house is, it's still a cash flowing house. We got a great family in there, amazing family. They make payments on time every month. In a beautiful neighborhood, beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. Look at that look at that house. It's a 4-bedroom house. I look back and I probably said I should have rented it out, but you know, I had an amazing family in there. Um, man, they actually, man, they got some equity in it now. I sold this property, a lot less than that. So they actually got equity in this house. I believe the buyers, um, they couldn't quite get a loan, at the time, and uh, they still wanted a nice house, in a good neighborhood. And that's the cool thing about our business is, we buy properties like this all the time and then owner finance it out to a family that, you know, um, maybe they're going through divorce, maybe their credit is not quite there yet, because we do our due diligence. We want to make sure that, they got jobs. I think um, they're married. They both got great jobs. They're, fully, credited and all that. It's just I think they were going through they were in a divorce or something like that, and so I think their credit wasn't quite there yet. So they may refi in a couple of years, they may not, but um, interest rate that I'm charging them is basically the similar rates as of today. So they may not even refi for another 5-10 years. I don't know, but it's a cash flowing asset. So do I care? Nope. As long as they make payments on time, but they're amazing family. Um, I, driving down, I don't drive by it every day, but once in a while I'll just drive by, making sure everything looks good, and they keep the house super clean and no complaints from the neighbors. I mean, this is a perfect situation for a buyer. Mortgage company can't accelerate or do on sale. Well, they can. Yeah, mortgage company can do that. I mean, today if they really wanted to, because there's a change in title. Like even though our land trust owns it, that's technically change in title. You know, but I think the Dodd Frank Act, Saint Germain Act, whatever they call it. Um, I think it says in there that it's not considered if you buy the property in a land trust, it's not considered a due on sale trigger. I think it's because you can use it for estate planning and things like that. But so that's one of the reasons why we did that. We put it in a land trust to prevent a due on sale. But is there a chance? Then sure they can still call it. But that's an accepted risk from us. We have options in case that does happen. We can sell it, refi it. You know, um, we could deed it over, and then we switch it to a land contract or a lease option agreement. So there's 3 or 4 different things that we can do in case that does happen. At the end of the day, the bank, what does the bank care about? Making sure their payments are made on time, right? So, but if it does happen, we have a plan for that. Because remember, these individuals that bought from us, that we wrapped it, they don't own the deed. The trust still owns the property. Okay, so we still have control over this asset. Great question, though, Rich. As always, always got good questions. We got 3 other people on here. Any other questions you guys have just on the process? Today, I just really want to get the seller on the call and just explain the situation. We did a more extensive interview after closing, but I wanted to do another interview a couple years later, because I wanted him to kind of explain the payments being made on time. He did. I remember him did say there was one issue, and that was because of that um, servicing transfer. We found out that there was no payment that was made on the first. So um, after doing a little more digging, we found out there was a servicing change, as a lot of times happen. For some reason, it just never transferred over. So, but that's why it's really important to make payments on the first. Gotta make payments on the first, because it gives you some leeway, some time to, in case something happens, that you can take care of it. Um, Usually, once someone is that late, don't they ever? Yes. Yep. So they call it a loss mitigation options. So the bank is required to send this, or try to send the seller a loss mitigation options packet. You know, and one of those options, yes, is a loan modification. That's actually the first one, right? And after post COVID, most people would automatically qualify for a loan mod, because banks were getting so many non-performing notes that they're just pre-qualifying these individuals for loan mods. They just had to accept it. And see, the problem is a lot of these sellers in the situation, they're not answering their phone calls, they're not putting their letters to the bank, right? In reality, they were getting a great option for a loan modification, right? Because normally in a loan modification, you have to requalify. They're going to check your income, make sure that you can still afford it, and they'll structure a payment that um, that you can afford to continue making payments. The problem with loan mods is, they'll either extend the term out, or raise the interest rate. the banks they're still smart. They're still trying to get their money, but at the end of the day, they don't want to go to foreclosure. That's the worst thing for them because they can't lend on a non-performing asset, right? Can't, if a bank can't lend, I mean, that's their bread and butter. That's how they make money, is by lending out money. So, but the homeowner has to, initiate that. If they don't open their letters, they don't answer a phone call, even if the bank, offers it, it's not going to happen. So other options are, loan modifications. You got forbearance. A lot of banks will offer some type of forbearance plan, repayment plan, short sales, and then they got and then lastly, deed in lieu of foreclosure, right? Where the sellers just deed it back to the bank, kind of like a quick claim deed in Arkansas, right? They'll just deed it back to them, so that way they don't have to go through the foreclosure proceedings and all that. And sometimes they'll offer like a cash for keys in conjunction with that. So they'll give cash to the sellers for them just to kind of basically just do a quick sweep of the area, the house. And if they do that, they don't damage more of the property, they'll basically give them some cash at closing. Which third-party company do you use to transfer funds to the bank and the seller? So there's a couple out there, and you already know this, I'm sure, but so you got Evergreen is a big one here, and then Westar. But yeah, those are the two. I think that's what you're talking about, the note servicing company that makes payments. Yes, Westar and Evergreen. I think you're in Chicago, so I believe Westar is licensed for that state. Yep, no problem, brother. Any other questions you guys have just on subject to, seller financing, anything like that? Surprise! I thought I was going to go over an hour, so I'm happy about that. So later on today, I will be continuing making phone calls with some realtors. I think I got it scheduled out for I think 1:00. Well, actually, and I can't do it 1 because the fight is on at 1. I may have to delay that. I'm definitely going to watch that Fury Paul fight today. Let's see. Nope, I don't have it scheduled yet, I don't think. But yeah, it'll probably be later on this afternoon. But I've got some more hot realtor leads that I want to make some phone calls on. And if you guys have any questions when I'm on, just feel free to ask. But I don't know if I'm going to really schedule that out. I'll just kind of get on when I get some time. But it'll be alive when I do that. And if you guys are on, by chance, then feel free to ask any questions. I'm telling you guys, start making the phone calls. There's going to be sellers like this. I mean, this house is in my neighborhood. I've got 2 houses just like this in my neighborhood. I mean, you can't beat it so it's just, you got to make sure you do the paperwork right. Make sure you use a title company that understands how to do it. I highly recommend use, if you're in Arkansas, Pinnacle Title. I know ProLand in Benton or Bryant. Should I say Bryant or Benton? I think it's Bryant. Yeah. I don't know. It's Benton. ProLand and Benton. I know they do it, but I highly recommend using Pinnacle Title. highly specialize in creative financing. They can do obviously the normal transactions, but they're really, really good at doing creative financing deals. Jimmy Crace and Caleb Burnett is the owners over there at Pinnacle Title. But I'm telling you guys, there's going to be a lot of properties like this now. And not only that is, if you know how to do subject twos and short sales, and you can acquire a lot of property, especially short sales. I know Pace Morby, he's thinking about doing a elephant challenge on short sales. I mean, this is Pace Morby himself, talking about short sales. He sees the writing on the wall. Okay. This is not sustainable. Interest rates are going to be going up a couple times again this year. It's projected to go up again, and this is just my opinion and my opinion only, but I just don't see the market getting back to how it was. We're not going to go back down to 3% interest rates for a long time. I mean, I'm a metrics guy, right? I like looking at graphs, and I don't know if you guys seen let me see if I can pull it up. The interest rate historical graph. So, one thing, a lot of realtors, they pitch, that 2-1 buy down, and, it's a great for the potential buyer on the short term, right? Because, so if you guys know what 2-1 buy down is the seller pays credit to get the interest rate drop for the buyer. And so if it's a 6% interest rate today, they'll buy it down where that first year it's only 4% interest rate. The next year is 5%, right? So it's 2% on the first year, 1% on the next year, right? And then it goes back to the original, rate when they got it. The problem is the pitch is, if the rates drop, they can refinance, right? Get a better rate. But what if it goes up, right? I mean, are you expecting the market to shift drastically in 2 years when inflation is ridiculously, I mean, it's crazy how much we're spending. Inflation is going up and up. So they're going to keep raising interest rates to drop that inflation. I mean, that's the tool of the Fed. That's how you fix it. It's a proven theory, if you raise interest rates, it's going to curb the inflation. So, and it works. So that's what they're doing. They're going to keep raising until inflation goes down. Now, interest rates will maybe fluctuate here and there a little bit, but it's not going to go down to where, a point where they can, it won't go down at 3%. It's my opinion. But I base his opinion on historical data, obviously connecting with a lot of other, investors, other realtors that's been in the game a really long time. They've seen the market changes, and we kind of gauge, where the interest rates are going to be at. What is the housing market going to be like next, 5 years? Um, where did I find that? United States. A couple weeks pace will be. Yep. Yep. Are you talking about the elephant challenge, Ariel? I know banks want to get paid, but when it's a distressed owner at 2-3% not making payment, they have to call a loan or to costly to REO. I know banks want to get paid, but when it's a distressed owner at 2-3% and not make payment, would they be happy to call a loan? Yeah. So here's the thing. I do a lot of short sales, so I'm talking to these reps all the time, right? Here's the thing. It costs a lot of money for a bank to foreclose, right? Or, because essentially that's what they're doing. They're foreclosing, right? The note's gonna be due, or they're gonna foreclose. And so they got to deal with a property, potential property that that could be damaged. It needs some work. Then you have to, like you said, hire an REO agent to list the property. It's just more time and more work. When at the end of the day, what are they trying to do? They're trying to lend that money out. Right? They're not in the business of real estate. Okay. Now they may have bank policy to call the note due, right? And some smaller banks will have that policy to do that, but um, if they do that, and it's very rare, you have options. Before I'd be like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do a subject to because they're due on sale. But after I found out like there's ways to solve that, got options. Then I feel a little more at ease. Like I said, you can sell it, you can reinstate it, right? So you could deed it over, switch to a lease option agreement, land contract, whatever, at the same time. So there, you got options out there. So now I'm just not worried about it. If it happens, it happens. Now, here's the thing though. If I know a certain bank, small bank that will call it every time, will I take it subject to? Hell no. Why would I do that when I know for a fact that bank will do it? Like, there's a bank here in Arkansas, Arvis Bank. They will call every note due. They said it. They look at every. I mean, it's smaller banks, so they have more visibility for these files. If they see a title change, they're going to call the no due. That's just their policy. So does that mean I'm not going to do a deal with them, with the seller, if they have an Arvis note? I'm still going to do a deal. I'm going to maybe do a land contract, with them. Will I get the tax benefits of it? No, I'm not a CPA. Okay. But if I don't get the deed, I don't get the tax benefits. Right. But I still have an asset that's still cash flowing. So I'm still going to do a deal. I just won't do a subject to. That's the only really difference between a land contract and a subject to is who gets the deed. Land contract is you have agreement of terms, but the deed is in limbo, right? It's held, in a safety deposit box, or held by a servicing company, right? Just like how your car is, right? I mean, you bought a car, the bank holds the title, right? You still own the car, right? You can do whatever you want to the car. You own it, but you don't hold the title until you don't get that title till it's paid off. That's the same thing on the land contract. Once the terms are fulfilled in the land contract, then you get the deed. Same thing like a car. The things you just can't get the potential tax benefits for that. Can't depreciate it. But if you're cash flowing $1,000 a month on that deal, you're turning to Airbnb, are you still going to do a deal? Absolutely, I will. Absolutely. Or maybe turn it to a lease option. Master lease. There's just hundreds of different ways you can structure that deal. I just won't do a subject to. Let's see here. Trying to pull up that interest rate chart. What I'll do is I'll probably pull it up at a on a different video. But so that, like I said, I kind of got off track earlier. But the 2-1 buy down, I just it's a great thing in the short term. And if for a fact, I mean, if we were all you know um, you know psychics, and we can we know exactly what's going to happen 2 years from now, we'd all be rich, we'd all be billionaires, right? But I just don't think realtors are, they're telling them the good things, but I don't know if they're necessarily telling them, like, this is what happens if it doesn't go down. I mean, like, can you still afford it? Can you still afford the mortgage payment, with your current job? If it's, goes, if you can't refi, and now you're stuck at a 6% interest rate. Hopefully they are, but that's just a temporary solution, for this is going to be a long-term problem in my opinion. It's just I don't see the trends where it's going to drop drastically within 2 years. It's more of like an 8-year cycle that I see from the chart. So I mean, we're just on the front end of that cycle. And so on Wednesday, I got Charlie Clifton. He's the lead broker over there at Home Designer Realty. He's the owner of that company. It's a um, amazing guy, man. He's been in the industry 30 plus years. He's been a home builder, old as hell, but he doesn't, I mean, man, he can still keep up with the best of us. But I want him to get him on because his knowledge and just his photographic memory. He has literally photographic memory. He remembers everything, but he remembers the housing market changes, you know, since late 70s. So there's some big different changes during that time, and I'm really excited to get his insight and what he thinks, what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years with our current housing market. We're still below. There's still high demand for housing, for sure, right? Absolutely, there's still high demand, but just because there's demand doesn't mean you can qualify for a loan. I mean, you just can't qualify. I've noticed that a lot of properties that are 300,000 plus, they're on market a lot longer than normal, 30, 60 days now. A lot of these $200,000 homes. There's a reason behind that, because the buyer's purchase power is a lot less, right? People that could, if they were able to get 2.5%, 3%, mid 3% loans, they can get a $300,000 house. Now that they're 6%, they can't really necessarily afford 300,000 plus homes now. Now their budget is maybe 200 to 250, or maybe less. All right. But yeah, so Wednesday, Charlie Clifton, hopefully you guys can get on. I put it on my Zillow, Facebook, Jesus. But feel free to go on there, ask Charlie some questions. But really excited for him to be on. But yeah, you guys, hope you guys enjoyed the content today. If you have any questions, you can always just text me. My phone number is 501-301-4472. DM me on Instagram at Arnie_Newton. Add me on Facebook, Arnie Newton. And until next video, thanks guys. Appreciate it.